All right, well, great video to kick things off for the 12th Annual International Space Station Research and Development Conference. I am Raven Baxter, also known as Dr. Raven, and I'll be your MC for today. In my day job, I'm a molecular biologist with a passion for science education and fascinated in the ways that we might change perceptions of science by leveraging creative outlets in music, fashion, and comedy. And I am beyond thrilled to be here to guide you through the first day of ISSRDC. So first and foremost, good morning. Let's give a round of applause for everyone here today. It's gonna be a great day. It's great to see everyone here. I hope everyone had a great time at last night's networking reception. If you made it, it was sponsored by Leidos and enjoyed breakfast sponsored by Northrop Grumman. And this week, we're here to celebrate the achievements of science, R&D, and collaboration that research through the International Space Station delivers year after year. But we're not just looking back at what's been done, we're also turning toward the future and what this community will be doing next. So we'll be hearing how innovation will continue to be at the forefront of space-based activities, and hopefully will inspire you all along the way. So this year's theme is Innovating in the New Space Age, Accelerating Commercialization and Science in Space through 2030. During the next few days, you'll be hearing from a diverse set of speakers and panelists who are driving innovation forward, accelerating efforts in science, and taking advantage of a truly awesome orbiting laboratory, the International Space Station. We'll hear about research benefiting humanity and the evolution of economic and business development models supporting commercial growth. Here at ISSRDC, we're in a unique position to have meaningful conversations about how we can work together and foster collaboration and innovation. How might we accelerate the expansion of the space landscape, the companies and partnerships forming to create future space platforms and research opportunities in low orbit? This is truly an exciting time in our field, a field that has the potential to impact the success of so many other industries by providing a chance to flip the script, right? All of this and much more will be discussed this week, and I, for one, am all for it. So for the next 3 days, we'll meet here for the main sessions. The technical sessions will be on the 3rd, 4th, and 7th floors, and the Marketplace Expo is located on the 3rd floor in the Columbia Room. If you haven't already, please go to your app store and download the conference app so you can plan out your days, rate each of the sessions as they're happening. And we'll also be taking questions for sessions through the app, so you'll definitely want to get in there and play around. Okay, so let's not wait another second to dive into this agenda. I'd like to introduce one of the hosts of this annual conference, Ray Lugo, who serves as the Chief Executive Officer and Principal Investigator for the ISS National Laboratory, managed by the Center for the Advancement of Science and Space, CASSIS. In this role, Mr. Lugo is responsible for implementing strategic objectives that enable space-based research to the ISS National Lab that brings value to our nation and brings a robust and sustainable market in low Earth orbit. Please welcome Ray Lugo to the stage.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so my staff made a mistake of putting me in front of an open mic again, so you're gonna have to listen to me for a few minutes. But good morning. Okay, thanks. Good morning. It's great to see you all here in Seattle for the 12th Annual International Space Station Research and Development Conference. On behalf of our partners at NASA and the American Astronautical Society, welcome to all first-time RDC attendees. I think you'll find the next few days to be extremely enlightening on some of the amazing R&D taking place on station. And for those returning to the conference, welcome back. Between the new topics and the introduction of lightning talks to the agenda, I hope you find the conversation to be engaging. We certainly live in interesting times, and this year's conference reflects the opportunities in front of us and the changing landscape of research in low Earth orbit. Our focus this year, innovating in the new space age, is quite apropos for our time. It speaks to the increasing pace of innovation that is upon us and only made possible by the work all the work that has been done on station to date. Obviously, I'm reading this, as well as a transition to the new age of research in LEO. Both the innovation as well as the new age are possible because many of the people sitting in this room, the researchers, the commercial providers, government agencies, and the developers of commercial platforms to come. Now, I'd like to acknowledge all those who make this conference possible, particularly our sponsors, the people that pay for everything. Boeing is returning once again as our platinum sponsor. They've been a true partner for many years with the RDC, but also in many programs offered by the ISS National Lab, including our work together on education and outreach with the Gene and Space program and our support of startups through the annual Technology and Space Prize. And of course, NASA has relied heavily on Boeing for the successful operation of the ISS from day one. They've helped shape and maintain the orbiting lab as a safe and productive place for groundbreaking research for the past 2 decades, and will provide that ongoing support all the way through 2030 and possibly beyond. So, thank you, Boeing. We also have 2 gold sponsors this year, Leidos as a returning sponsor and longtime partner of the ISS National Lab, and an all-new sponsor, VAST, who is already poised to make a big impact in the space business. Our sincere appreciation to both of this year's gold sponsors. Our 2023 silver sponsors include KBR, Northrop Grumman, Redwire, and Space Tango. We'd also like to thank our special sponsors, Airbus and NanoRacks. Thanks to all our silver and special sponsors, and thanks to our marketplace sponsors. As you visit and network in the Marketplace Expo, you'll find many long-standing as well as new exhibitors. These are among the premier companies working closely with the ISS National Lab and NASA to drive our burgeoning LEO economy. Please be sure to visit them in the exhibit hall. Before I move on, I'd like to take a moment to honor a member of our team that we lost this year. Greg Summers, he was one of our very first employees, and he provided valuable IT experience and guidance as the organization grew. Greg was a friend to everyone, quick to focus on work, but with kindness and humility that few have mastered. He was truly gifted at telling a story, often getting you to laugh. You need to laugh when your day wasn't going so well. We lost Greg suddenly, and he will forever be a part of our organization's history. Greg is a part of who we are, and we honor him by continuing to embody the kindness and generosity he demonstrated throughout his life. I'd also like to recognize a significant milestone anniversary of a valued member of the Cases family. I think most of you know him, but please join me in congratulating Dr. Mike Roberts, our Chief Scientific Officer, who is celebrating 10 years with the organization. So Mike, stand up. Thanks, Mike, for your ongoing dedication to our mission and for the important role you've played in getting so many innovative projects to station over the years, many of which have had a lasting impact. One last round of gratitude now for our conference planning committee. And honestly, if you've never put on a conference, I don't think you really have a good understanding of the complexity of it, and we have a great team comprised of ISS National Lab, NASA, and AAS employees that have worked together for months to build out this amazing event. So thank you to each and every one of you. Well, we've got a conference for you. Sometimes it's going to be difficult to see the forest for the trees. Yet, the potential for innovative space application through partnerships across many industries is really what this conference is all about. To those of you who have done R&D on station in the past, are doing so now, or soon will be sending a project to space, you're blazing the trails that are leading us into a new age of space. I encourage all of you here to take advantage of the many opportunities over the next few days to make new connections and make every moment count, dream big, and enjoy the conference. Dana Weigel, the NASA ISS Deputy Program Manager and Acting Chair of the International Space Station Mission Management Team, is next. So please join me in welcoming Dana to the stage.
All right, good morning all, and welcome to the 12th Annual ISS Research and Development Conference. And happy launch day to everyone. I can't think of a cooler way to kick off this conference and the end of the day than with a launch of a mission that's headed to the International Space Station. We've got the Northrop Grumman 19 cargo mission scheduled to launch early this evening. We arranged that just for all of you. It'll be launching at 5:31 p.m. Pacific time out of our NASA Wallops flight facility. Perhaps one day your future research will be flying on one of the NG Cygnus spacecrafts. You'll hear more about the details of the launch and how you can watch and enjoy it this evening from our next speaker. Let's see, NASA continues to work very closely with CASIS, the Center for the Advancement of Science in Space. CASIS has done an outstanding job managing our ISS National Lab for the last 11 years. But beyond the work that they do and that we do day to day to get research ready to launch and to fly, we really look forward to this unique opportunity that we have with all of you here to spend this time together at this R&D conference. It's this science and research community, all of you sitting in the room here, who are the true innovators, who are really the true drivers that make us successful in our overall goals of having a robust science manifest and doing world-renowned research on board station. Station's top priority is the science and research, and in fact, if you've heard our Deputy Administrator talk, Pam Melroy, that's actually the agency's overall top priority. Just recently, all of the international partners finished their work to extend ISS operations. And what I want to emphasize to all of you here today is that we plan to fully utilize ISS all the way through the end of 2030. That means full throttle operations, science, research, technology development through the end of 2030. Beyond that, we are working very closely with the Commercial LEO Development Program to help establish a robust research infrastructure so that we've got a seamless transition between ISS and our future commercial destinations. It's an exciting time in low Earth orbit as we look forward to our future and what's to come this next year in 2024 and beyond that. Please keep your innovative research ideas coming. Some of the greatest accomplishments and ideas we've had on board station were generated in this R&D conference. I know we always talk about how busy it is on board space station. I think if you listen to any of our press briefings, that's how we always start off, but it's really true. That was true of this last year, and it will be true for our future years. We had 7 cargo missions fly to station this year, 3 SpaceX Dragon missions, 3 Progress cargo missions, and soon to be 2 Northrop Grumman Cygnus spacecraft missions. We also launched and returned our Crew 5 aboard a SpaceX Crew Dragon. Crew 6 launched also on a SpaceX Crew Dragon. They're currently on board, finishing a very successful increment, and hoping to have them return at the end of August. Crew 7 is scheduled to launch in a few weeks. That's a really unique first flight for us. We've got every single seat filled by a different international partner. We've got Roscosmos, NASA, ESA, and JAXA all flying together. So that's a pretty cool international milestone for us. Let's see, we had our second private astronaut mission, the Axiom 2 mission, fly early in the summer. We do have a third private astronaut mission flying early in 2024. Last year in September, we launched Frank Rubio on a Soyuz spacecraft, which is the Russian crewed vehicle. That's part of a cosmonaut-astronaut exchange swap agreement that we have with our Russian colleagues. Frank has been on board for almost a year. He's scheduled to return on the next Soyuz on September 27th. He's going to set a new long-duration record for us. When he returns, he will have spent 371 days in space, which is the longest single-duration flight for any U.S. astronaut. So in addition to all these busy missions that we've been flying, we've also done a number of upgrades on board Space Station. The most notable one is the installation of a third set of upgraded solar arrays, the IROSA or rollout solar arrays. You saw some of those in the video there. So lots of power upgrades to the system that'll serve us well all the way through the end of life of station. We also did 8 spacewalks this year on the US side, and the Russians did 7 spacewalks. So a lot of busy upgrade work going on board. And there's a lot to look forward to on our horizon. We have a number of first-time flight vehicles that are really close to flying. Boeing is working very hard on the Starliner crewed mission. That's called the Crewed Flight Test. JAXA is working on a new cargo mission, the HTV-X, that's going to bring great capability to the program. And Sierra Space is working on their Dream Chaser cargo vehicle, which has the ability to return cargo, which will be fantastic. As everyone knows, that's a really precious resource and hard to get things back to the ground. So a lot of really exciting things that we have headed our way in our future. With that, I'd like to cue up a special message to all of you from the crew on board the International Space Station.
Welcome to the 12th Annual International Space Station Research and Development Conference. I'm NASA astronaut Frank Rubio, along with my crewmate, Steve Bowen.
While you're gathered together in Seattle, the crew of Expedition 69 is working 260 miles above the Earth. Seattle, with its innovative and forward-thinking spirit, serves as a great backdrop to this year's conference and its theme of the new space age, accelerating commercialization and science in space through 2030.
Speaking of backdrops, the city's iconic Space Needle was built for the 1962 World's Fair, whose theme was the Age of Space. The futuristic design of the tower was inspired by the idea that the fair needed a structure to symbolize humanity's space-age aspirations. Fast forward more than 60 years, and we are still inspired by its meaning. We continue in a new space age that includes almost 23 years of continuous human presence in space, the commercialization of low Earth orbit, and the challenge of heading back to the moon for long-duration missions.
We can personally attest to how much your science and research keeps us incredibly busy up here. The crew of Expedition 69 has already unpacked multiple cargo vehicles carrying tons of science and research. Take some time this week at the conference to explore how the ISS can advance your R&D goals, technological innovation, in-space manufacturing, and workforce development to drive commercialization in a sustainable space economy.
We hope you enjoy the next few days in the Emerald City. Have a great week.
Thank you so much for joining us this week, and thank you for what you do to contribute to the benefit for humanity through the research on board Space Station. Next, I'd like to introduce a very special guest. In 2021, she spent 200 days in space conducting scientific research and technology demonstrations on board the ISS. She also served as the pilot of the SpaceX Crew Dragon Endeavour, which carried her crew to and from ISS. Her first flight to space was in 2009 as a mission specialist aboard STS-125, which was our final space shuttle mission to the Hubble Space Telescope. She currently serves as the astronaut representative to the Space Station program, and she is also the Chief Science Officer at Space Center Houston. Please join me in welcoming astronaut Megan MacArthur.
Thank you, Dana, for that kind introduction. I'm very happy to be here this morning with all of you, and it was great to see my friends Steve and Frank up there on the big board. You know, I haven't seen them around the office for a while, so it's nice to know that they're somewhere working. Frank, as you heard, he recently passed a 300-day mark in space. That's 300 consecutive days, and by the time he gets home, as you heard from Dana, it will be over 370 days. He is a superhero in my book, and also one of the nicest humans you'll meet on or off the planet, so I hope you get a chance to see him during his post-flight. Steve Bowen, who you also saw up there, is one of my astronaut classmates. We were the Bugs, the class of 2000, and his nickname was Waldo for his tendency to be hiding in plain sight when there was something going on. I don't think it's probably not as easy for him to do that up there on Space Station, but who knows. It's also fun to see the big smile on his face. Some people really blossom when they're in space, and he's definitely one of those. It's hard to believe that for me it's been 2 years since I was up there in their place. I was up there in 2021, as Dana mentioned, for 200 days. And I can still remember exactly what it looks like, what it feels like, and what it smells like on board the International Space Station. During that time, my crewmates and I had the opportunity to contribute to literally hundreds of experiments and technology demonstrations during that time. And people love to ask me, Megan, what was your favorite experiment? And I'm here to tell you that I loved all of my experiments equally. They were all my pride and joy. But the ones I actually got to get my hands on, all of them were memorable for different reasons. Celestial immunity was a human immune system study that stands out in my mind. It was one that I did right after I arrived on board, when you're really still getting your space legs, if you will. And I'm using the life sciences glove box, going back and forth to the centrifuge and the incubator. And it was a complicated protocol that really required close collaboration with the team on the ground. Where's my girl, Shankini? I know you're in here somewhere. All right, so for me, that collaboration with Shankini and her team was so valuable, and it really set the tone for me that here I was, I'm in space, I'm doing real research for teams on the ground, and this is extremely important for them. They've put their heart and soul into getting this together and getting it ready to go on board, and I'm a member of their team. I'm their hands and their eyes on board. So that really kind of set the tone for me for the mission. I was absolutely hooked. Something that also became very motivating for me while I was up there was getting to share the research that we were doing with people on Earth and helping them see the relevance to their own lives. That we're not just putting astronauts in space so that we can study astronauts in space, that we actually have value for people back on Earth. There was a study that we did called Cardinal Muscle that was an investigation testing whether engineered muscle tissues cultured in space could be a valid model for muscle loss experienced by people on Earth. And if so, then we could take advantage of the accelerated muscle atrophy that we see in space to quickly assess possible drugs prior to human clinical trials. And so being able to share things like that with people on Earth when they ask us, why are you up there? What are you doing? It's very, very valuable. Another edible highlight for us was the NASA's Plant Habitat 4 experiment, where we cultivated hatch chili peppers. In one of the videos earlier, there was a very brief blinking moment where I was actually hand pollinating those peppers. So again, a moment where I was right there in the middle of the research being done and helping that take place. The thing that was really interesting about that experiment is that it was one of the most complicated things that we had grown in space to date. And so it took a long time for the seeds to germinate. It took a long time for them to come to fruition. So you can imagine the anticipation that we felt. There's very little of green and growing life, of course, on the space station, we hope. And so it was wonderful for me to be, as I'm a plant lover, so I loved being able to float by and just take the cover off and peek in at them periodically. But 4 months is a long time to wait. And so we were getting closer and closer to the end of our mission, and I started to worry that we were not going to get to do the harvest, that these jokers coming up on Crew 3 were going to get to harvest and eat our peppers, and I was not happy about that. But fortunately, just about a week before we came home, we were given the go. Mark Vandehei got to harvest the peppers, and we got to enjoy a very tasty dinner that night. So that was kind of enjoying the success of the experiment in a very tasty way, which we appreciated. We also got to participate in tech demos, such as Redwire's regolith print study, which demonstrates 3D printing on the space station using a material that simulates regolith, which of course is the loose rock and soil found on the surfaces of planetary bodies such as the moon. So helping us figure out, are we going to be able to 3D print structures when we get there, which is pretty cool. Every cargo vehicle that comes up brings dozens and dozens of projects like these. Some of them need interacting right away. And so the pace ramps up dramatically when we have a new vehicle come on board. We capture the vehicle, we open the hatch, we get in there, we start pulling things out. And we're highly motivated to get to work on all of your projects that have been brought up there. It does help when we know that the program managers may have hidden some ice cream or perhaps some cheese in the empty science sample freezers that come up. So Dana, we appreciate you. Thank you very much. So it's exciting and fitting that we're going to end the day today, the first day of the conference, by cheering on a Cygnus launch, as you heard about. So the Northrop Grumman vehicle that's going up to space station is packed with over 8,000 pounds of supplies to support new science research, as well as food and equipment for the crew. The 5-minute launch window opens at our local time tonight, 5:31 p.m. And this same spacecraft in the future could be delivering your work. Maybe it's done so in the past. But I hope you come out and join us to watch that, the launch party tonight during the networking reception this evening. I'm really, really pleased to have the opportunity to thank you today. The science research community are true drivers and innovators that help us have a robust manifest of science and research taking place on space station every single day. So please keep those ideas coming. I will be at the launch party. Like I said tonight, the live coverage starts at 5 p.m. Again, the launch is targeted for 5:31. You can find the NASA booth, which is booth number 24, and I will be there, excuse me, to answer any questions you might have. Excuse me. And okay, I'm going to stop talking because apparently my voice is giving out, but I hope to see you there tonight. We will cheer on the launch. Always fun to see a launch. And hopefully I won't lose my voice in the cheering process. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thanks for what you do. Have a great day.
Hey, well, good morning. Hey, first I'd like to recognize Raven, the science maven, and everything that she is doing to spark interest in STEM. Your engagement reach is helping us broaden our talent pipeline, and for that we're all grateful. So thank you, Raven. When we welcomed you to this conference last year, we were on the cusp of another promising year of spaceflight, and we're right there again, starting tonight. In fact, our presence in low Earth orbit is central to near and long-term NASA and international partner interests. The ISS is in its prime, producing almost double the amount of science per increment that we did only 10 years ago. Spend a few minutes today walking through the conference booth space, and you'll see the incredible science discoveries that we've made on the International Space Station just this year. Another major benefit to the ISS near term is the validation of systems and technologies that we need for the exploration missions and their associated CONOPS. We need to validate system technologies, both in efficacy and longevity, and also how they work after long periods of dormancy. The best place to validate these systems is on the ISS before they are critical for long-duration space missions. We've already seen that, and it's paying dividends. An early DTO of an ISS life support system worked flawlessly for 6 months, and then it didn't. The ISS can withstand that, but multi-year exploration missions will be much more challenged. You know, another great technology Dana mentioned is the IROSA solar arrays. The advancement of that technology provides great benefit to the ISS through its end of life, but it's also going to be transferable to future exploration missions, especially when we look to create a sustained presence on the moon. In November, we're going to mark the 25th anniversary of continuous operations aboard the ISS. No other human-rated space platform even comes close. That long run of operations in a stable program means not only a lot of experiments, it means a lot more people than ever have been able to perform their research in space. A big part of that access to diverse users is a program we are very proud of, the Genes in Space program. Genes in Space is a competition for high school students to come up with cellular-level research that advances human spaceflight by deciphering the challenges that face astronauts. The winner of last year's contest, Pristine of Charlotte, North Carolina, just saw her research experiment performed on orbit. On the last day of this conference, we'll name the winner of the 11th student experiment bound for the ISS through the Genes in Space program. But we don't do Genes in Space alone. We've got a couple of amazing partners, including the company Mini PCR and New England Biolabs, and Ray and his team at the ISS National Lab. What we have seen throughout the ISS operations is the value that research provides virtually across every specialty. The ISS is also the anchor for the fledgling LEO commercial economy until it reaches critical mass. The current US policy is that there will be no LEO gap as we look to transition ISS to commercial platforms. I certainly salute all of the commercial platform providers, which have two very difficult challenges directly ahead of them. First, this is an unproven market. With all of the great strides that we've made in science, the vast majority of research going to LEO is underwritten by the federal government. The commercial transition will not be without challenges. Second, the platform providers have a large design, development, test, and evaluation hill to climb, with myriad technical cost and schedule risk ahead of them. They will get there, but it will not be easy. I want to highlight this is not an attack on commercial low Earth orbit destinations. CLDs are the future of LEO, following the ISS mission, and we need to allow them to follow their natural development cycle. So if we believe in the premise of a continued LEO presence and in the importance of the US space policy aspiring to no LEO gap, there are certain things that we must ensure. First, the ISS must continue to be supported through the transition. It will need not only stable but slightly increasing budget for a number of reasons. First, the US deorbit vehicle. This vehicle will ensure the ability to safely deorbit at the end of life, and it must come with new funding, or it would significantly impact the ability of ISS sustainment and research utilization. Second, the AMS upgrade. If you're following the AMS, there is an amazing upgrade that will essentially double the science capability of this wonderful platform. The only thing, though, is it's going to take almost an entire cargo flight to do it, and so it deserves a plus up in the budget ahead. Third, currently there is a huge backlog of R&D. We should look to maximize our ISS research and meet the growing demand. The marginal cost of these investments will provide an overwhelming increase in our science returns and help enable the transition to future LEO platforms. Right now, the ISS is budgeted for perfection. The vast majority of the time, that is exactly what we see. But robustness in funding ensures science throughput, even if we have issues on a particular flight. With the trades in front of our Congress created by the debt ceiling, we will be faced with difficult budget cycles in the near future. So if this is important to you, it is necessary to be vocal. Your voice matters. It is essential to the continuity of science, and it is essential to the stable on-ramp of CLDs. I want to thank again our conference organizer, Ray, and the ISS National Labs, but especially thank all of you for coming. Thanks for attending, and soak it all in. And then be sure to share the importance of the ISS and our mission in LEO with others and advocate for its future. Thank you guys very much, and welcome Raven back up to the stage.